Democrats did not do as well as they would have hoped in congressional races this election, losing seats in the House. And of course, the Senate is still up for grabs with two runoff elections in Georgia in January. Joining us now is a Democrat who greatly improved on her 2018 win in what used to be a red district in suburban Atlanta and is now shifted purple or even blue. Representative Lucy McBath, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I should mention you're also re-releasing your book next week, Standing Our Ground. We'll get to that in just a minute. First, though, have to ask, with your state now projected to turn blue, you've said never forget what happened in Georgia this election. What do you believe happened in Georgia this election that helped Democrats flip the state? And can the party recreate that again in January with the Senate on the line, even though the White House is not at stake?
Well, I believe there was so much synergy and excitement on the ground here in Georgia, and I believe that's really been a focal point for us since 2016. And I'm so proud of the candidates that we've had all up and down the ballot, and especially those Senate candidates that we have now that are going to the runoff. I think John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock are just amazing human beings. And I know that I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure that they get elected. And Georgia has been in the minds of a lot of people across the nation for some time. As I've always said, that this is the new South. Don't count us out. The work that Stacey Abrams has done on the ground since 2016 to really help generate a lot of energy and getting people registered to vote and making sure that every vote counts. I think that's what we saw.
Now, Democrats will lose several members of the House. Why do you think that Democrats didn't do as well in down-ballot elections elsewhere? In a lot of cases, voters chose Biden at the top of the ticket, but then a Republican for the Senate or House.
Well, of course, I wish, like many of us, that we had picked up more House seats. But ultimately, what was accomplished is that we had the president. Here, President Trump became a one-term president, and we have to get back to work winning these seats all over again because so many people are still relying on us to do the work that they're counting on us to do. We have to expand and protect access to health care. We need to make sure that we keep our communities safe from unnecessary gun violence. And of course, because of COVID-19, now we're dealing with getting our workers back to work, keeping people healthy and safe. So these are the things that people are counting on us to do. So we've got to go back to the trenches. We've got to get back to work. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to do so.
And as you just started touching upon, COVID is, of course, surging across the country right now. The positivity rate in Georgia, in fact, is nearly 8%. As we look ahead to the holiday season, what changes do you feel that Americans need to make in their daily behavior? And what can state and local officials do to help slow the spread?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've got to listen to the healthcare providers. We've got to listen to the scientists and healthcare providers and researchers that are giving us the data and the information that we need to make smarter decisions about how we're going to operate day to day and what we now call our new normal. Listen to the CDC guidelines and listen to the COVID task force that the president-elect is creating right now. So I think if we listen to the science, if we adhere to the guidelines, do the best that we possibly can, not to only keep ourselves safe, but others safe, I really believe that we'll be able to turn the tide towards health and wellness and prosperity again for the United States.
Of course, economic stimulus talks seem to be stalled again, given that Republicans haven't budged on rejecting a $2 trillion package. Do you think that Democrats should compromise on a smaller package to address immediate needs now, knowing that you have Joe Biden in the White House in January to propose further needed stimulus later?
Well, I know that personally I'm going to do all that I can to work across the aisle, as I've done in the past, work across the aisle with my Republican colleagues, and I'll work with anyone that is willing to get something done on behalf of our communities and the thousands upon thousands of people in our districts that really are depending on us to set things right for them.
I'd like to switch gears now and ask about your son, who was murdered 8 years ago this month, shot after being confronted for playing loud music. Does the fact that you've been able to turn your activism into action help in some way with coping with your loss?
Absolutely it does. The work that I have done since my son was murdered is just me still loving my child, still loving him and caring for him. And it's a sense of protecting him. What I've basically done in the transition since Jordan has been murdered, the transition into advocacy, gun violence prevention advocacy, and now as a member of Congress, it's just taking all that I would be giving to my son and just translating that and giving that to my community and the people that I live among every single day. And that's just, truly, I'm just still being a mother on a mission, protecting those that I love and care about.
And as you're set now to release a new foreword to your book, reflecting on your time in office, what advice would you give grieving parents and the many who feel like the system has failed them when it comes to systemic racism, gun control, social justice, you name it? Do you think that despite gridlock in Washington that we might see meaningful gun control legislation in these next 4 years?
I do believe that we will see changes in our gun laws. The fact that I ran on a gun safety platform here in Georgia and in a red state, and I was elected on a gun safety platform because simply no one wants to be me. I believe that things are changing. People are really looking for candidates. They're looking for representatives that stand for their morals and their values and are willing to go to bat for them in Washington to keep them healthy and to keep them safe, to make sure that their future generations are provided for. And so I really do believe that we're going to continue to see those kinds of changes, and I think that I'm a perfect representative of that.
And finally, when you take your seat in the 117th Congress in January, there will be more women by your side than ever before. A record, at least 135 women and 49 women of color were elected this November. And of course, history was made with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Regardless of political beliefs, what message does this send to young girls out there?
I think it's a phenomenal message of hope. Women and young girls, we have been the focal points of our communities and our homes doing the work. We've been in the trenches. We've been leaders not only in our homes, but in our communities, in our schools, school districts, municipalities. And so it gives a sense of hope that there's nothing that we can't do. And women have been doing the work. We balance and juggle different balls all the time. But what we do know is how to get things done. And we pick up a challenge, we move forward, and we create value for people that we love and care for. So this sends a phenomenal sense of hope to young women all across the country that would want to stand up and create value for the people that they care about in their communities and America at large. There's lots of hope because women are getting things done.
Representative Lucy McBath, again, re-releasing your book next week, Standing Our Ground. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.